Morning, 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 everybody. How are we all? I am really excited on many counts. This is my first catch up with Lee Roebeck, who is the most incredible, inspirational leadership and mindset coach. Flying all the way in from South Africa. I'm in the UK. We did have somebody from Papua New Guinea yesterday, so we could expect somebody from all over the place. And Lee and I have been meeting every month to talk about property mindset. And today we are going to be talking about your massive goals that you've set. Well, I hope you've set them. And if you haven't, go and set them for 2024. So on top of that, Lee and I have just been juggling with the new tech because we are using something called Restream. So I'm hoping that we are not only streaming to my social media, but we are also streaming to Lee's social media as well. So let's do a bit of an intro of both of us, Lee, because obviously I'm potentially talking to your social media and you're potentially talking to mine. So please do give an introduction to yourself to anyone who doesn't know you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you're tuning in from around the world. As Emma said, my name is Lee Roebeck, and I'm a mindset coach. I've been helping entrepreneurs remove mind blocks and attract clients easily for the past, since 2014, 2015 now. So I've been at this for a while. I'm from Johannesburg in South Africa, and just a bit more background in terms of my training. I was trained at the so-called Harvard of Professional Speaking Schools back in July 2014 in Boston. And I've also been mentored by the late and great Bob Proctor. So that's just a bit about me, and we'll get a bit more into his story and mine later. Thank you, Emma.
Fantastic. So yeah, a quick introduction to me. I am a property investor and educator, and I have a background in corporate. So I worked for L'Oreal in the UK and abroad, and I also have run a number of successful businesses that have won national awards. And then I have grown a rent-to-rent serviced accommodation business and sold that, and also developed a 16-studio apartment hotel, amongst lots of other things. So yeah, so I'm really passionate about mindset, and I actually met Lee 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah, a bit over 3 years ago. And I reached out to Lee, and I'd reached out to, I think, pretty much everyone else in the world, but I was still getting the same results. And inherently, if you're getting the same results, you need to do something different. And I just couldn't work out what to do. I'd read Think and Grow Rich 5 times. I'd done all of these things, but nothing was changing. Then when I met Lee, and Lee introduced me to Bob Proctor and all the ways of his training, suddenly Lee transformed my life. And in fact, even at the moment, we haven't had a chance to have a catch up, but things are happening so serendipitously that, yeah, I just feel on top of the world at the moment. Obviously, things go right, things go wrong, but inherently, yeah, it's been an absolute life changer for me. So I really wanted to follow on this month, and I know Lee and I love kind of talking about how our mindset affects property, and buying property, running property businesses, whatever it is. And it really does make an enormous difference. So if you're not getting the results that you want, sometimes it's not just about what you're physically doing on a daily basis. Sometimes it's actually what's happening in here. And it was once I understood that I was able to take responsibility and to know that I wasn't a victim, because Lee will know I was a bit of a victim in those days. But now I know that I have control. I don't always know how to change certain things, but I've got the tools to search for those. So fantastically. Well, let's jump straight in. I know today we want to talk about these 2024 goals. Let's kind of kick off on your views of goals, basically, and what they are, and inherently what's stopping you from getting to your goals.
So, Emma, goals are very important, as you know. You've got to know where you're going. You got to know the direction that you're heading in. But here's the thing, goal setting is an intellectual exercise. Goal achieving is a lawful process. I want to repeat that. And if you're taking notes, write that down. Goal setting is an intellectual exercise. Goal achieving is a lawful process. Now, my mentor, I mentioned him before, Bob Proctor. He used to say that success is 95% mindset and 5% strategy. Now, here's the thing. People get hung up on the strategy. I just need the next strategy, the next big thing. Oh, I need to, learn what that person's doing, or I need to figure this out. You can have the best strategy in the world. If your mindset is not attuned to take advantage of it, you can forget about it. And I'll qualify that for you, if that sounds a bit out there. Why is it that you can find two people selling the same product, working in the same marketplace, serving the same demographic, working for the same sales manager? One is absolutely killing it and the other one's struggling to get by. What's the difference? Mindset, right, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, that is something that when you talk about setting goals is an intellectual exercise and achieving them is a lawful process. Well, these are the things that for me, I didn't have that toolbox. I didn't have that understanding. And I was extremely frustrated, especially hearing things, when people talked about Think and Grow Rich, and I know that the book by Napoleon Hill, and I know when I came to you, I had literally already read it 5 times. And if anyone's read it, it's quite a hefty, chunky book. And nothing was coming of it. And one of the things amongst many of the things that I found out was, as you said, it's not just about the logical, intellectual side of things, which is where I very much was and still can be. I'm so logical. I can completely miss out all my emotions. And it's just, this is the problem and this is the factual response of it. Whereas actually, and especially in property, because things go wrong all the time, as in life, things always go wrong. Don't think that you're anything special if you've had things go wrong for you. Everyone has things go wrong for them. It's just some people tell you about it and some people don't. Some people dwell on it and some people don't. So then when you've talked about, achieving your goals is a lawful process, do you mind just sort of, talking a little bit more about that, what kind of that looks like? Because I know for me, that was not necessarily new. I kind of heard of some of the things, but I just did not understand how to implement, especially when I was very logical.
So everything is an expression of the mind. So we have to understand how the mind works, right? The amount of money we earn in our business, how effective we are in terms of whatever business, if you're in a property business or whatever business you're in, how effective you are has got to do with behavior. It's got to do with your habitual patterns. It's got to do with your confidence, how you show up. And I think a big thing in terms of selling anything is to desensitize to rejection, right? Now, all those things I mentioned, the confidence, the inability or the ability to not allow rejection to affect you, all of that is a subconscious thing. It's an habitual way of you showing up. Now, you can get the best strategies. You can intellectually be aware of how to work these strategies in the marketplace. But if your paradigm, which is a program, which is a mental program in your subconscious mind, is not attuned to the results you want, you're never going to get those results. Now, let's go a bit deeper. If you look at the dictionary definition, Emma, of paradigm, it's simply a pattern. So it's simply a pattern. And, if you live with somebody, you could probably set a clock by them. They wake up at the same time every day, whether they grab the coffee mug, the TV remote, toothbrush first thing in the morning. There's a routine or a pattern that they fall into. And this pattern takes them all through their day. I mean, you pretty much know what your day is going to look like, right? From the moment you open your eyes in the morning until you close them at night. And it's this paradigm that creates our results. And, the saying, old habits die hard, right? It's classic example. We're just moving into a new year now. You find the gyms are full of people 4 to 6 weeks in. And I see it every year because I've been training for 20 years. 4 to 6 weeks in, Emma, and the gym empties out again. Why is that? People really want to get fit. They really want to, live a healthier lifestyle. But if they don't shift the paradigm, which is creating the behavior, the habits, they literally fighting against themselves. And it's like this internal war is happening. And I promise you, the paradigm will always win out. So the thing is, you've got to install those new ideas into the paradigm. And when I say it's a lawful process, everything in this universe operates by law. Everything. Like if we want more money, doesn't matter what religion or philosophy you subscribe to, you got to give more in order to receive more. Like if you've got a problem in terms of the amount of money you're earning, it's a simple thing. Just serve. Find a way to serve. Even if initially you're serving without getting any sort of remuneration or reward for it, serve. By law, the good that you're putting out will come back to you. So, it's just certain things like that. And also, there's the law of the subconscious mind. Any idea that's impressed on the subconscious, so if you move your goal and all these ideas, beliefs into your subconscious, I promise you your external world starts shifting and you'll see that happen. So that's what I mean when I say it's a lawful process.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, again, like all things, as I said, you can read the same book multiple times, and I do that regularly. I listen to the same podcast multiple times. You've trained me to rewrite the same paragraph hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and quite often, we've all read a book, and hopefully, if you have read it the second time and thought, I don't remember reading this at all, and even short paragraphs. After a couple of weeks, I'm suddenly like, really? I've been writing this out all this time and I still don't remember having, heard this or writing this. And it's very strange because we kind of change as we develop. And one of the things that I've really been concentrating a lot, and it's becoming more and more conscious, especially because I've got twin 18-year-old boys, is those little things. So I would really like to live in a tidy house. That's a dream of mine. But with 3 kids, that can be challenging. So it's the little things like, you walk into the bathroom and there's a pair of my son's pants on the floor. So every time I'm trying to say to him, and at the same time I'm saying it to myself, if you can do those little things, if you can really get into the habit of doing those little things, then the big things will come. Because what I've tended to do is to go for the big things and neglect those little things. So like, as you say, how do I feel today? How do I feel going into that property meeting? How do I feel meeting the estate agent? How do I feel tomorrow going to my big property investor group event? How do I look? How do I feel? Have I washed my hair? Have I had it blow dried? Have I made myself look nice for me? All of these kind of little things. Have I cleaned my teeth? Is it normal? Because for some people, these things are not normal. Like, with little kids, again, I know Lee and I have got youngsters, but my littlest, she's 7. I do have to still remind her that, I'll say, have you cleaned your teeth? And she went through a stage of going, yes, mummy. Have you really? No, mummy. And it's getting those little habits coming through. So I love this about your paradigm. And I know it is a deeper set thing, but sometimes going to the gym, isn't it? Or rocking up each day to make a phone call, to cold call some landlords is a really big jump. And sometimes that's too much. So sometimes by doing those smaller things, so it might be, I don't know, so if you're breaking it down, it may be you just you make one call, but you've got to have made it by 9 o'clock or something. It's understanding yourself, and that is so massive. I was listening to another thing this morning all about sort of coaching and things like that, and it is all about knowing who you are. And this goes back to Greek philosophy. These are not new things, are they? And that's what you've helped me with, Lee, is I just thought I was like everyone else, which is clearly not true. I'm my own unique person. So the only way I can change is by understanding myself more. And one of those things for me was, I'm very logical, so I needed to bring more emotion in. I really have learned that I wasn't doing the small things. And actually now I'm building the small things. I feel that there's much more of a foundation to then grow those bigger things. And especially within, the property time, I think, that's really, really key. And if I might, I know one of the things that you want to talk about is, and this was huge for me, when you've talked about goals, like a goal has always been to me something that you have to hit. Mm-hmm. And you've known me for a couple of years, Lee, at the end of the year, getting extremely stressed, from about the third quarter, getting very stressed because my goal was so far away. Mm-hmm. Now, this last year, I didn't hit all my goals. In fact, a lot of them I was still really far away from, but I was still really proud of where I got to. I was not stressed. I was still really open, and the opportunities are still absolutely flowing because I haven't allowed that stress and anxiety and all of those kind of things to block, because they can block, don't they? So it's being able to kind of understand myself. But one thing that you talk about is a goal is actually to grow. It's not to necessarily get.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, Emma. Goals are for us to grow. It's not necessarily for us to get material things. We will get material things, as Bob used to say. But the real purpose of a goal is for you to grow. And when you set in big goals like you are, Emma, you're taking a stab in the dark. If you set in, like a lot of people set, like really, and with all due respect, very low, lowly goals. They go after what they think they can do or what they know they're capable of achieving. Very few people are stretching and going after something that's outrageous. And when you do that, you're probably going to need some more time. Even if you set a date to that goal, you're likely going to need to give yourself an extension. I'll tell you a quick story in terms of what you just shared. Earlier this week, I think it was either Sunday or Monday, yesterday, I looked at my list from 2022. I wrote down 22 things that I wanted to do in 2022. And just like you did last year, Emma, I didn't tick off everything. But I went back and I looked at that list, and I promise you 90% of what's on that list is done. It's achieved. So it's crazy how we set the intention, and even if we don't focus on it or we set something new the next year, when we reflect or we look back, we're like, gosh, bang, that's ticked off, that's ticked off, that's ticked off. I mean, the car that I wanted to purchase in 2022, I didn't purchase it in 2022, but I got to buying it now in 2023. So bang, that was on the list in 20. So, just things like that. You mentioned something also that's really key for all of us to understand. The paradigm is a multitude of habits. And yes, you're right, Emma, you've got to work on one or two things at a time, because if you try and shift too many ideas in your paradigm, you're going to be overwhelmed and not much is going to shift in terms of your behavior. So you want to work on one or two things at a time. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you're trying to grow your property business or any business, and you know that if you change two habits, and it could just be how many people you prospect or how many people you reach out to on a daily basis. And the second thing could be how many sales meetings you have a day. Just those two habits. Now, if you install those two habits, every day I reach out to 15 people, every day I have 3 sales meetings. If you install those two habits into your subconscious mind, here's a question to you. Do you think your business results will improve? If you do that every single day without fail, and it becomes a part of your habitual nature, do you think your business results will improve? I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think another thing that is really interesting, Lee, that just sort of sprung to mind then is this confirmation that when you have a goal for the month, for instance, and you're starting to put these activities into place, these habits, and then perhaps it gets to the 15th of the month and you haven't even started to hit that goal, for instance. So I met up with a group of business people last week, and there was one particular person who's had a really tough time recently, just in general. And I could hear the words that were being said. Mm-hmm. And they kept saying, but what happens if I don't hit my target for January? I'm not going to be able to pay the staff. And so it was, obviously we were all having that discussion. It was kind of like, yeah, of course, but what can you put in place? What kind of activities can we do? Anyway, so we kept saying, she was like, yeah, I put that into place. I put that into place. So it didn't really seem like there was any reason that this person should not hit their goals by the end of the month. But it just kept repeating, but what happens if I don't hit it? What happens if I don't hit it? And in the end, I sort of said, well, I think you're not going to hit it if you keep saying, what happens if I don't hit it? Because all you're thinking about is the what ifs. But we actually have to live in the now, the present, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. All you can do is what happened now. And she just didn't get it for a while. And in the end, I said, okay, so if it is a financial thing, if somebody was to say, if you don't, unless you hit your financial goal this month, somebody's going to take your kids away from you. I said, do you think you'd hit your financial goal? Absolutely, they said. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so therefore, rather than waiting for some terrible event to happen, why not think, whatever happens at this moment, what can I do to ensure that I can get there? And at the end of it, this person did kind of go, oh, yeah, I think so. But we just train ourselves, don't we, to think, and this is the mindset thing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And actually, you talk a lot about having this kind of faith that you are going to do it.
So there's two really key things you mentioned there, Emma. Really absolutely key. Number one is your why has got to be big enough. So if this entrepreneur, this individual, if you were to they'd be faced with a proposition or with the enormity of losing their children, they're going to put the foot on the pedal and they're going to get moving for sure. So the thing is, you've got to make your why big, because your why is like fuel that's driving you from the inside. Now, it doesn't need to be something as extreme as that. It might be, getting a new home, but something you really want. Like, you've got to want it from the core, the pit of your stomach. Or it could just be to make a difference or to have your business all over the world, or whatever it is. But you've got to really want that. Like, you've got to feel it in every cell of your being. So that's the first key thing you mentioned. Your why has got to be big enough. Number two, and this I'm so glad you mentioned it, Emma. Everything's on time. But doubt and worry is like praying for something you don't want. It's crazy, how someone can set a goal and yet all day, every day, they're thinking about, what if I don't hit it? What if this doesn't happen? Now, if you're operating from a state of unbelief, I promise you, you're working against yourself. You literally work. The biggest epiphany I had last year, Emma, the biggest epiphany, I was reading a book by Michael Lossier, Losier. It's called The Law of Attraction. And in there, he's got a 3-step process for deliberate attraction. 3-step process for deliberate attraction. Step 1 in his process is you've got to clearly identify what it is that you want. So that's the simple stuff, right? That's the goal, the target you're shooting at, where you're going, right? So that's what you get on, if you carry a goal card, that's what you get onto your goal card, and you remind yourself of it. Step 2 in this process is you've got to give any energy to that desire. Now, Emma, in terms of mindset, and many of you listening to this who's in the personal development world will know that you've got to give energy to your desire. You do it by rewriting that goal every day, affirming or auto-suggesting that goal. And for those of you who are not familiar, or maybe hearing the term auto-suggestion for the first time, auto-suggestion is a suggestion from yourself to yourself. So you'd go into a room and you'd affirm or auto-suggest your goal, and you want to write your goal in the present tense. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning X amount of money. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. It's done. Whatever your goal statement is. And then you affirm it or you auto-suggest it for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, however long. You rewrite your goal. Maybe when you're in the train on your way to see a client or on the way to a networking meeting, you close your eyes and you visualize your goal. So step 2, you give energy to it. Now, step 3 is the most important step. And like I said earlier, Emma, this was the biggest epiphany I had in 2023. Step 3, you've got to allow it. Because here's the thing, and in Michael Lossier's, in the book, in his philosophy, he said allowing is simply the absence of doubt. Allowing is the absence of doubt. So this lady, she's getting involved in doubt and worry. You can make book on the fact that's going to show up in the way, because that's where she's living daily. That's what she's expecting. And what she's expecting is going to move into an experience. Here's a little prop. Is there a visual representation, or are we streaming this via video on all platforms, Emma? Can I show you a prop quickly?
Yeah.
So here's a plastic see-through glass, and there's these bamboo sticks made holes through, and that's holding a bunch of marbles up there. And there's a little hole down here where the marbles can come out. Now, the marbles represent your desire. That's your goals up here. The bamboo sticks, that represents your doubt and your worry. And where the marbles come out here at the bottom, that is the manifestation of your desire. So here's your desire, here's the doubt and worry, and when the marbles come out here, that's the manifestation of your desire. Now, you can have a strong desire, like you can have clearly identified your goal. You can be giving it energy by auto-suggesting it, affirming it every day. If you're getting involved in doubt and worry, so you've got strong doubt, but a strong desire, they're literally going to cancel each other out. Nothing's going to move. Nothing's going to move down. But if you remove a bit of this doubt, like if I remove 1 or 2 sticks here, some of these marbles will fall down to the bottom and they'll come out. So a little bit of doubt, slow manifestation. But it stands to reason if we remove all of those bamboo sticks, if you remove all of the doubt with regards to you accomplishing or achieving your goal, the manifestation of it is going to be so much faster. Now, yes, we've got to take action. Yes, we've got to move into action every day. But mindset is so key, because even if we take in the action and our expectation is wrong, so you could be reaching out to people, you're taking the action, but you're expecting them to say no, or you're expecting rejection. What is going to be your experience? So, this, honestly, Emma, it was the biggest thing the biggest epiphany. I mean, it's things but sometimes you just need to hear it again, or you need some sort of visual representation. And I've got this on my desk just to remind me that the biggest step, the most important step in attracting your ideal business, the amount of money you want into your experience, the most important step is to allow it. And that's simply the absence of doubt. And here's the thing, that third step, allowing, is the least understood step of the 3. Most people don't understand it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That gives me goosebumps, because it is so true. And since, you have enabled me to see that literally you are what you think. So if you're thinking this isn't going to happen, then pretty much it isn't going to happen. And in fact, my daughter hates it, because she says, I can't do that. And I say, yep, you're right. Stop saying that, mummy. As we know, these are really particular. And actually, as you say, and as you were talking about, I just wrote that, when you were talking about, obviously you still need to act, you still need to take action. But what tends to happen is, if that why isn't big enough, or things are happening in the background that are very distracting and are, causing you concern. So what you see is reality. So maybe an empty bank account, or maybe an unhappy situation. When you see those, that kind of life can take over. And what I find, and especially, in fact, yesterday was a classic example. I had lots of things that I needed to do. I've got my page open here. I wanted to do some organizational charts. I wanted to do some follow up on HMOs. I'm looking to be talking about some HMOs on Thursday. So today was the day. I had various things that I needed to follow up on to hit my weekly goals. And that was because, in here you can see lots and lots of writing. And that was Monday. And on Sunday, I'd spent a number of hours planning for the week. And on Monday, because I'm really busy this week, I've got a lot on. Mm-hmm. I knew that I had to fit those things in on this day. But what happened was, it got to the afternoon, and I know myself, I started, I drop off. My energy levels dip just, after lunch for a few hours. And so I was doing all those easy bits, the quick responses via WhatsApp, and people were taking away my time. And suddenly I sat back and I was like, what is the most important things for me to do today? And one thing cropped up that would bring in, quite a hefty sum of money. So I chose at that moment, this is the thing that is most important at this moment. It would be, pertinent for me to carry that on. So that was the action that I chose to take. But it was very much a definite action. It was very much, controlling where I could have gone, and reading myself and seeing that the actions that I was taking at that moment were not purpose for me. They were not taking me in the direction that I wanted to. They were not going to get me to hit my goals. And so suddenly I was like, I'm just going to drop all of that. It does not matter if I don't do that for another week. It really doesn't matter. But if I don't pick up this particular thing now, I could lose that. And then not only am I losing, potentially a financial benefit, but I could also be losing somebody's respect for me because I didn't respond to them in an appropriate manner and I didn't seem keen or whatever. So, yeah, I absolutely wholly love this whole thing about seeing, allowing it, because we're so held down, and that's how I see it, by other things going on, and they may seem like reality, like I'm not hitting my goal. It seems like reality because in the bank account, if it's a financial one for that month, it isn't happening, and that is correct. But if you're just sat on that going, oh, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening, it definitely won't happen. Whereas if you're kind of like, bang, I'm going to sit and you coined this one for me. I like to sit in my imagined reality. So I like to just sit and think, oh, it's the end of the month and this is what I've hit, or I've just signed this agreement, or, my mentees have just, taken on another rent to rent, all of those things. That's what I'm thinking. And quite often, I'm really surprised. I'm like, wow, those things have really happened. And in fact, sometimes more. It's like, wow, I loved that. So yeah, I really, I appreciate you sort of, following that up, because that really was, quite good. So where do you think, Lee, you would take people now with this knowledge that they have? Where do you think is the understanding? Would you say that it's kind of, when you're looking at educating yourself, because for me that's easy because I'm logical. So I read lots of books, I do all of those things. But as I saw for many years, it would have been over 40 years. I know I don't look that old, but over 40 years, I was educating myself massively and not getting those results. So can you just sort of talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we were raised to deify the intellect. So we go to school, we taught you got to gather all of this knowledge. And, knowledge is sacred. And we were sold a lie. And the lie is this, that knowledge is power. Knowledge is sacred, but knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Applied knowledge is where the power is. So when you internalize it, and I'll qualify this, you can find somebody with degrees coming off their CV, off their resume, but they cannot find work. And then you'll find somebody who might be a high school dropout, and yet they build a company that operates all over the world. That's proof that knowledge does not necessarily translate into results unless it's internalized, because like I've already said, the paradigm in the subconscious, that creates your behavior. 96 to 98% of our results, our perceptions, and our behavior come from this paradigm, from the subconscious mental program. Only 2 to 4%, Emma, comes from the conscious thinking mind. And people deify the intellect, the conscious thinking mind, and they think that's where the answer is. And, like your experience was similar, my experience was similar. Because we fall in love with this material, we start consuming books, podcasts, video. We start, and we consume all these books, but we read it once or we read it twice. We feel good, we take it in, but we become top heavy. So where only 4% of your power comes from, we gather all the information there, and the main source of everything that's been created in your life, the subconscious, we do not internalize it. So the only way you're going to effectively change your results or become who you want to become or achieve that goal that's on your 2024 list is by moving the ideas that are going to get you there into the subconscious. And that's a process. That's a process. You've got to get involved, as you have, Emma, in some elite level mindset coaching program combined with professional coaching over a reasonable period of time. And you can do it. I mean, I know if Emma could, if I can, if I could, you can. But it's, it's, you've really got to understand the mind. Our schooling system, our environments growing up have taught us that, you just got to read something, remember it, and repeat it, and you've got it. The big question is, are you doing it? And as we get older, right, Emma, we gather more knowledge, we're reading more books, we're consuming, but we seem to be doing less. So this gap between what you know and what you do essentially gets wider, and the widening of that gap creates confusion and frustration. So, simple example, someone goes on a diet and they go to a party and they've said to everybody else, everyone in the family knows they're on a diet. They go to a party and there's beautiful chocolate cake, and they just can't help themselves. They go and grab a slice, and someone says, I thought you're on a diet. And they said, yes, I am. And why are you having the cake? I don't know. That's because the paradigm in the subconscious, which has not shifted, creates the behavior. Once it's in integrity, or you align what you want on an intellectual level versus what's happening in a subconscious habitual level, once you align that, then the behavior is automatic. Like, I can tell you my side. Exercise is a normal thing for me. I train 4 times a week. And that's a given. Like every week, it's a given. I don't even need to think about it. In fact, when that doesn't happen, then it feels like something's off. But that's because that's a part of my paradigm. It's a part of my program now. So, you just need the tool set like you have, Emma. Everyone listening to us, you just need a tool set to understand how to move these ideas into your subconscious. Because we all know how to do better. But the big question you need to ask yourself, are you doing it?
Amazing. And do you think, so I've got a question for you. So I was listening to a chap, Ed J.C. Smith, who does Expert Coach. And he was talking about, I think it was like a YouTube star. I'm afraid I can't remember his name because I'm not that down with the kids. But he was giving a few examples. But one of them was this young 17-year-old kid still at college, let's say, and he decided to do some videos. And he did a video of where he was going to be, for instance, I don't know if I'm telling the story exactly, but for instance, in 6 months' time, and then in a year's time, and then in 5 years' time, and 10 years' time. And these periods have pretty much gone now. And at the end of the 6 months, he posted that video. And at the end of the year, he posted that video, and then the 5 years and the 10 years. And every single one, you can imagine the first one, he's 17 years old, probably a little bit spotty, a little bit, not really knowing himself, but just had a little vision. And it was something like, he wanted to have 1 million followers or something like that. And then when he when he actually posted these videos, I mean, he'd absolutely smashed it out of the water. So do you think that kind of process, because that's something that to the average person, if you're making that commitment, is kind of something that's really scary? And maybe rather than, we hide away, don't we? We hide away, we write down our goals. We most probably don't even share them. We don't tell anyone else, because if they don't happen, they don't happen. So it may be, as you talked about, needing to allow it, it maybe has some blockages there. Whereas, this actual action of getting out there and really exposing yourself, I suppose, to the world, actually meant that the results were even bigger. And you hear lots of different examples of this. So I just wondered, throwing it back at you, excuse me, was that process, was that part of kind of shifting that subconscious to help maybe move things forward? What do you think that kind of process helped with?
So here's what I think. This guy put himself on the hook. Now, we let ourselves off the hook. But if you've hired a personal trainer and he's there at 5 a.m. in the morning, or you've made a promise to somebody, the likelihood is you're going to follow through with that. If you wake up at 5 a.m., it's a bit chilly outside, you don't feel like going out to the gym, you're gonna turn over and you're gonna let yourself off the hook. But if you know you've got a personal trainer waiting for you, you're gonna hop up and you're going to get to the gym because there's someone waiting, there's somebody holding you accountable. So all this, what it sounds like to me, Emma, this young man, this young boy at 17, He made himself accountable to the entire world because, I mean, he put it out there online. And think of what a driver that could be. One of my other mentors, he used to say, tell the whole world about your goal. Like, put yourself on the hook, make yourself accountable to everybody, because that's really going to drive you.
Yeah, absolutely love that. We've got Tiffany who's asked a couple of questions. I wonder if I might sort of throw those over to you, Lee.
Sure.
She has said, I'm currently struggling with overwhelming thoughts of the big picture to replace my income. I'm imagining this is through property. How do I break down that goal so I feel like I can manage this? And then she's put, do you have any recommendations on a book to help with mindset and self-belief to achieve this? I'm going to leave you to do that because I've got an Amazon delivery.
Sorry, Emma, the lady's name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany, great question. So what I'd start with is you've got to add a lot of detail to the goal. So it sounds like you've got a goal, you've defined the income goal that you're going towards, but you want to draw a picture clearer with regards to that income goal. So that goal would mean that you'd need to serve 10 retainer clients a month, or you'd need to have 10 rent-to-rent properties, or whatever it is, right? You need that. And this is what your life looks like. You're employing 1 or 2 people. But my point is basically you need a clearer, more vivid picture around what that goal or that state of being is. And then how you're going to break it down. This is normally my process. I know Emma's been through it. Set 6 action steps. So after you've clarified your goal, it's crystal clear, like I've said, then set 6 action steps in terms of where you are now, the things you can do right now to get moving. Now, a lot of people won't set the big goal because they cannot see the entire staircase to get from where they are to the goal, Tiffany. The thing is, you go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you can see further. Like if you're driving from London up to Liverpool, you don't see the entire road, but if you take this specific highway, and which highway is that, Emma? If you take the specific highway, the road unfolds but if you keep going down that road, eventually you're going to end up in Liverpool, right? Now, it works similarly with your goals. You just got to go as far as you can see. Anybody who's achieved anything great, when they started out, they didn't know how they were going to get there. But they just took the next step. And when they got there, they could see further. And then they took the next step. With regards to your second part of your question, what book can you read? One I'd always recommend is Think and Grow Rich. But here's the thing, Tiffany, don't just read that book once. Read it over and over and over and over again. I mean, Emma read it 5 times, and that's impressive. Emma, I think I've read it up well over 40, 50 times already. But that man, Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, he interviewed 500 of the world's most successful people in the early 1900s. Amongst them, guys like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Woodrow Wilson, who was one of the US presidents, Alexander Graham Bell. I mean, it's just a laundry list of hugely impactful individuals. And he studied them over a quarter of a century, 25 years. He worked with them. He tried to understand their philosophy, what made them tick, how they thought. And that's how he created, this book, Think and Grow Rich. And if he spent his entire life, 25 years, creating this, I think it would be a prudent move on your part to spend the rest of your days trying to understand this philosophy. But once again, don't become top heavy. Don't just read it to intellectualize the ideas in here. Read it over and over. My mentor, Bob Proctor, he read this book every day for 61 years. I mean, think about that. And I mean, it's not like, but he'd read a little bit from this book every day. He'd read a little book. Sometimes he'd just open the book at any page and, he'd pick up or he'd read something. But read it every day over and over and over. And I think the key thing, as you go through it the second, the third, the fifth time, or however many times you decide you're going to go through it, ask yourself, are you doing it? The ideas he gives you. So like in the desire chapter here, he'd say, write a goal on a card, carry it with you. It's easy to read that and say, that's a nice idea, but are you doing it? That's just a simple thing. There's many, many ideas. There's questionnaires in here. There's a lot. So this would be a key book I'd recommend for you in terms of helping you to get rid of that doubt and to build up self-belief. I hope that helps you, Tiffany.
Definitely. And also I do recommend as well that if, and Lee got me onto this one, that Earl Nightingale also has done a condensed narration of the book Think and Grow Rich. And if you listen to it on like 1.5 times, you can listen to it in sort of less than 40 minutes. So it's a really great one to listen to on a daily basis. And Lee is quite a stickler. Make a commitment to listen to it for 30 days. And honestly, at the end of those 30 days, your life will look different. I mean, it just can't not look different from having that kind of stuff. So that is something that Lee recommended to me. I've done it numerous times. And then also for you very much, from that kind of rent to rent essay point. So what you want to do is fantastic. You basically want to replace your income. You want to use rent to rent as, I presume it's serviced accommodation. It might be HMOs, but if it's, whichever, you want to, and you want to do that by 2025. So this is fantastic. So in this year, you need to be taking some big actions, and you need to be doing it in the right way. So I just wrote a couple of notes down. It's obviously things like accountability. So what we can tend to do, can't we, is we can go on and on and on for weeks and weeks and weeks, but without accountability. So everything that I've done with Lee, he always uses a weekly sort of meetings and things like that, because then you're accountable to people. And I think that's absolutely great. I have weekly accountabilities, monthly masterminds, all of these things. So that can sort of help you get on your way. Obviously, you need knowledge. That's really key. And there's lots of places that you can get that. Obviously, mindset, and that really comes down to the way we think, the way we feel, the way we take action, and to really be aware of those. But for you, with your income, one of the things that really interested me is you said, I want to start in rent to rent, and I want to do it by 2025. Now, my question to you is, the reason you're feeling potentially overwhelmed is because there's nothing definite in that. So for me, it's kind of stepping back and having a quick look and saying, okay, so what do I currently earn? I would highly recommend that you kind of double that, because we obviously want you to feel comfortable leaving your job and that security. So I would definitely, whatever you take home, double that. And then generally a rent to rent, you're going to earn between £800 and £1,000. So just break it down. So if you want an additional, 5,000, 10,000, well, then that's, 5 to 7 or 10 to 13 properties. So that, that now. So there's no starting. You just know that this year in 2024, you need to hit, let's say, 8 properties. And that is totally achievable. And then you can start breaking that down. Well, what resources do I have now? Do I have some money? Can I go and, get a deal packaged for me where I literally can get going? But more importantly, and the one thing that everyone who knows me will know I'm so passionate about, is finding your gold mine area. Because what we tend to do is we just look around so far and wide, and then it's just too much. It's too overwhelming, and we need to niche down. So the same as, knowing that you need 8 properties, and then knowing that those 8 properties are in an area where that you just literally open a property there and people are going to be booking it. You're not, that kind of worry and that overwhelm starts to go away. So a lot of it is it's definitely having that kind of support and knowing yourself. So it may be that actually, a mindset person like Lee is what you need. It might be just knowledge that you need. but only you can know these things. And quite often it is a tandem thing. It certainly was for me. I needed everything. I needed all the help I could get. But yeah, I hope, Tiffany, that kind of helps you. And I'll definitely, after this, I'll send you a link to a gold mine area. And I know, Lee, we're going to share some links, and you can spend a bit more time with Lee as well. I understand that he's going to be doing a webinar shortly. So all of these things are worth, seeing those opportunities. And I never think, jumping on a call there's some reason around it. Something, your vibration, and that sounds kooky, but I don't agree that it is kooky. Something will have put you on here to hear these things, or you will have a conversation and there's a reason that conversation is had. And we need to, exactly like Lee mentioned, is this deliberate attraction, is you need to allow it. So if something is put in front of your face, don't just close your eyes and go, I didn't see it. Take it. This could be, the reason. So yeah. Oh, good. Tiffany said, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I know we're sort of coming up. We've just got a few minutes left, Lee. So I didn't know if you wanted to kind of sort of start to bring this to a close, and then I'd really love you to share how people, might continue learning from you and finding out more from you.
There's a quote I'd like to end, because this is such a good discussion, Emma, around paradigms and programming. There's a quote that I often replay by a man by the name of Joel Barker. In fact, he wrote a book called Paradigms. And he said, in order to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Here's the thing, we're going into 2024. If we're going to operate with the same program, with the same multitude of habits that we did in 2023, we're going to get the same results this year. Guaranteed you're going to get the same or similar. And someone like Tiffany also, coming from an employee mindset or corporate career to an entrepreneurial mindset, the shift in that, it's two totally different mindsets. And, if you're going to achieve this goal by 2025 and you're going to move into 2024 and start experiencing a movement in the direction that you're going to have to shift your mindset. You're going to have to align your paradigm with what it is that you want. So Emma mentioned the webinar. I'm running a webinar on Thursday, the 25th, this Thursday. And I think it's at 9 a.m. UK, 11 a.m. South Africa. And during this webinar, I'm really going to get into paradigms. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to give you a model of the mind. If you think the concepts and ideas that we went through here was, mind expanding, what we're going to cover on Thursday is really, really going to stretch you. And you're going to see exactly where your gap is. And, with awareness, with that understanding, that's when you can close that gap between what it is that you know and what you do. The key takeaways or the learnings from Thursday's webinar, it's titled Entrepreneurs, How to Clear the Blocks to Your Abundance. The 3 takeaways are, I'm going to show you, and once again, I said I'm going to introduce you to a model of the mind. I'm going to show you what the root cause of your current income results, your current business results are, and then I'm going to show you how to change it. Number 2, I'm going to introduce you to 3 different income earning strategies. There's only 3 different strategies that we can use to earn money. There's 2 ways in which money is earned, and that's people at work and money at work. But there's only 3 income earning strategies. And then I'm going to teach you on what's the best one for you to use if you want to grow your income fast. And then number 3, I'm going to give you a strategy to turn your annual income into a monthly income. Now that could seem, Emma, imagine if you were to earn in 2024, you were to earn what you made in the entire 2023 in 1 month in 2024. Just makes life easy. And the first time I heard that from Bob, I was like, yeah, that's just so far removed from reality. But I experienced that. I left my corporate career in 2019 And in 2020, during the pandemic, in some of the toughest economic climates, I made my entire 2019 annual income in 1 month in 2020, after being so scared to walk away from my full-time employment. So that's the third thing we're going to get into. So if you want to join us, I'm sure Emma's going to pop a link on wherever this is being streamed live to. Click on that link. I know there are only 100 seats in terms of registration. I think we're up to 65 already. So if you're keen and you're listening to this, click on that link now, grab a seat before they fill up, because it's 100 and that's it. So like I said, we're up to 65. And, if this resonates with you, if you want to join us, I look forward to seeing you there. Emma, thanks once again for this chat. I really enjoyed this month's chat. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Lee. I feel very privileged, and in fact, Lee was always somebody that I always thought, wow, I'd love to be able to spend, more time with Lee. Picking his brains, doing all this. So, when this opportunity arose for me to be able to interview him on a regular basis, I just felt very, very grateful because it helps me. I've literally, as always, written loads and loads of notes. It's all every day for me is a school day, especially around mindset, because I know that that's one of the things that truly holds me back. So yeah, I really appreciate spending this time with you. So thank you so much, Lee. And yes, I will get everything out, and I'm going to do quite a few posts over the next few days to let everyone know what we've spoken about today, and also your event on Thursday. So Thursday, 9 a.m. and the link, is in the chat in multiple streams, which is pretty exciting. We've done well, Lee. We've been very technologically advanced. So yes. So again, thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to seeing you again. I'm back on Monday at noon, and this time I'm talking to Suzanne Smith, all about being a landlord. So yeah, look forward to that. Thanks a lot, Lee. Take care.
Thanks, Emma. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye, everyone.